Welcome to an episode of Crippled by Culture, where we talk about everything in life and relate it to the disability and chronically ill community. My name is Sean Gold, and I'm an author, advocate, and nonverbal public speaker for the disability community. To provide a quick visual description for accessibility, I am a Black man with a white tracheostomy breathing tube in my neck. I am wearing an orange shirt. Next to me is the voice you hear speaking for me. This video is of a Zoom call with me and the person talking for me in one box, and my guests are in another box below it. Today, I would like to thank Adam Ross for being my voice in this episode. In this episode, we are talking about the intersections of disability, the LGBT community, and sex.
Before we get any further into the interview, I want to give a shout out to our partnering nonprofit festival for the series, Festability. As a board member, I helped put together a wonderful event in St. Louis at the Missouri History Museum. We had so many activities and vendors set up all over with an amazing headliner for our main stage. Getting to do this event was a dream come true. It is the best event in St. Louis to celebrate your disability unapologetically. Make sure you come out later this year. More information will be available soon. Thank you Festability for sponsoring the series. Now, back to the show.
Now let's get to it. Let's get to today's amazing guest. Evan Sweeney is a 39-year-old genderqueer disabled male who works primarily as a sex educator and freelance writer. His topics include disabilities, sex, gender, and queer culture. He has been doing sex and disability workshops for 15 years and started doing this work because he found a huge lack of good sex positive information for people with disabilities. Evan wrote the book Queer on Wheels and has traveled the country giving workshops about sex and disability. He continues to give workshops online and in person through Cripping Up Sex with Evan, and he is also available for private consultations. Evan, thank you for being here today. I haven't spoken to you in so long. We've known each other for 10 years now. How are you doing? Would you mind giving a visual description of yourself, please?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm doing great. I am a 39-year-old white person who is wearing a blue and white long sleeve striped shirt. And also on my head is a blue visor that has a laser attached to it. I have short brown hair and blue eyes.
I appreciate that. First, do you identify with having a disability or chronic illness? If so, do you mind sharing what disabilities or chronic illnesses you have?
Yes, I have cerebral palsy, which for me means I cannot walk, so I use a wheelchair. I am also nonverbal, so I use a letterboard and laser to communicate.
How does your disability affect your everyday life?
I hire awesome personal aides to help me with my day-to-day tasks. They help me with everything from dressing to eating to doing my job and everything in between.
How old were you when you got diagnosed?
I was 6 months old when I was diagnosed.
Do you feel like there are other things going on that you feel are not diagnosed?
No.
Did you have to go through your own internalized ableism?
No. As a kid, my parents were awesome and they figured out a way for me to do anything I wanted to. They also introduced me to the disability community with its culture and events at such a young age that I didn't have any internalized ableism.
So this is such a cool episode for me since we're both technically nonverbal. But what do you think are the misconceptions about being nonverbal that aren't true?
The biggest misconception is that nonverbal people cannot think. People often talk to my assistants instead of me when I'm out in public, even when I'm right there. Thankfully, my aides are awesome and will bluntly say, "You can ask him."
How did you come to accept being nonverbal?
I am, quote unquote, lucky because I have been nonverbal my whole life, so I really did not have to come to terms with it. Also, I taught myself to read at 22 months old, and at 3, my dad made me my first letterboard, so I have had a way to communicate my whole life.
Now, your involvement in the disability community. How does your company help with clients with various disabilities?
I give in-person and online workshops about the many aspects of sex and disability. I have my Sex and Disability 101 class, which is an overview of many topics surrounding sex and disability. I also have more focused classes, such as my oral sex and disability class or my chronic pain and sex class. I also am available for private consultations where we can brainstorm anything about disability and dating, sex, etc.
What do you tell people who think it's exploitation?
I just ignore them, honestly.
What stigmas have you faced towards sex and disability?
The biggest stigma is that we cannot or should not have sex. This all comes from infantilization. Able-bodied people think they know what's best for us, which is so not the case. We, as disabled people, know exactly what we want and need.
How does it feel when sex work is still stigmatized with prostitution?
I think I'm going to skip that question.
What else would you like to talk about today that I didn't cover?
I don't have any other topics to cover.
How can hiring a sex worker and or sex therapist be beneficial? I thought about it myself, but I don't want my first time to be an experience I paid for.
Seeing a sex therapist or a sex worker can be a good way to practice with someone where there are no stakes. Then when people get into a relationship, they feel more confident.
What would you tell people, both disabled and non-disabled, who struggles with the idea of disability and sexuality?
I would say it's hard for everyone, and to just be yourself and you will find someone who is good for you.
How did you get started on traveling as a public speaker? That's my next goal in my public speaking career.
Well, I don't consider myself a public speaker per se. I give workshops, but that doesn't feel like the same.
So tell me about the workshops. What topics do you cover?
I have a variety of topics, from Sex and Disability 101 to oral sex and disability and chronic pain and sex.
I'm less experienced in public speaking than you, so I still have trouble trying to put a price value on my talks without feeling like I'm overpricing myself. How do I get over that?
I think everyone has to figure out their own comfortability level with pricing their time and work, so I can't say what is worth it for others.
How do you prepare for these workshops?
Because I'm nonverbal, I write out the meat of my workshop and have my aide voice it. Then for the question and answer parts, I just use my letterboard.
What do you say in your speeches when addressing ableism in the queer community?
I don't actually talk much about that. I mostly focus on the strengths of the disabled community.
What do you tell queer people about your disability when you're considering being intimate with them?
I just explain how my disability affects or does not affect my sex life and let them ask any questions they might have.
What's your favorite workshop to give?
Oral sex and disability, because I use BARBI, because I use Barbies to demonstrate POS possible because I use Barbies to demonstrate positions.
I think I remember you saying that years ago. I don't think I've ever seen that.
It is A V A I L A B, available on my WE website.
I'll have to check it out.
Cool.
How can queer spaces and pride be more accommodating?
Ask us what we need. That's the easiest way.
What did the show Special, which starred Ryan O'Connell, a gay male with CP, mean to you? For me, I felt completely seen.
I thought it was awesome that a platform as big as Netflix had Special on it, because so many people who would not otherwise see it saw it and hopefully got a glimpse into what our lives are like.
What do you tell people that don't understand the meaning and importance of not only disabled representation in media, but disabled queer representation?
I would say as a kid, I had no representation, and that was really hard. I had no one to look up to or to relate to. So any accurate representation in the media is much needed.
I didn't either until I was 16. It was hard, and I don't think people understand what it does for minorities because it validates and normalizes our existence.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely.
How can we achieve this inclusion?
More people with disabilities in the writing rooms, directing, acting, and much more.
You wrote for Speechless, correct? How was that experience?
ICONSUL, consulted for Speechless, and it was an awesome experience. They so wanted to get DISABLI disability right, which I really appreciate.
Have you worked on any other projects?
No, not really. Not why. Not yet.
What do you hope to do?
More C R I P P. More cripping up sex CLA classes. I would love to do in-person classes again.
How did the pandemic change your work?
I had to I had to stop having in-person classes and go only online, which was okay, but I miss in person.
Are you having any in-person soon?
Maybe. I am talking with a local sex sex shop in Portland about having me give a workshop. So that is exciting.
Yeah, I just had my first in-person speaking engagement in over 2 years back in July. It's nothing like being in front of the crowd.
Definitely.
How often do you get booked?
When whenever people want whenever people want me.
Same. Thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation with me. I hope you have enjoyed this as much as I did. I appreciate the insights that you provided as well. If people wanted to connect with you and support the work you do, where can they do so?
This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. You can find me on Instagram at crippingupsex, CRIPPINGUPSEX. And through my Instagram, you can find my website as well, and you can feel free to reach out to me on either of those platforms for anything.
I will make sure to share everything in my description below. Once again, I'm Sean Gold. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, comment all your thoughts, and subscribe. I'll see you all next time on another episode of Crippled by Culture.